fast, it's got smaller drops than the average curve. So we're going to be looking at something that I would otherwise say is a pretty good matchup for Mage. He's got a really good curve, he's got a Snow Chugger, but Firebat's hand is also pretty amazing.
Both players here have
The nuts draw? Yeah.
top-notch card draws. I mean, Reynad could, in theory, hope for better with insane Mech Warper synergies, but I mean, getting a Scientist is always excellent against Druid.
So playing the Shade here, you know, it allows him to dictate when he wants to kill the Scientist, whereas if you play the Harvest Golem now, what you're doing is essentially letting your opponent trade his Scientist away, and then you're forced to give him something that he's going to be happy to play.
Yeah, I agree. This draw, though, from Reynad is so huge, because now he managed to play 2 minions instead of 1. He'll be able to freeze the face. And
ouch! This Blast Mage is going to tear through this board.
This leads so well into Blingtron. Do you send the Scientist into the Golem, then you Blast Mage, send the Clockwork Gnome into
the token that remains? Yeah, if it spawns, of course.
I mean, you freeze the face, you have Mirror Entity, you have a 5/4, and next turn you have Blingtron. This is so strong. As long as the Blast Mage hits right.
Yeah, this is an example of what we meant when we're speaking of the advantage that Mech Mage has in many circumstances. This is pretty much it. But the swipe that Firebat has is actually going to clear this board fully, no matter what happens here.
Kind of width, though. This is huge.
Exactly. He had to wait to see where the Clockwork Gnome would have to go, and this is going to make the swipe that Firebat has a complete board clear. I mean, he could give a Loot Hoarder from Mirror Entity. The value Reynad's going to get out of it is fairly minimal compared to what he might have been expecting.
Yeah, I still think Reynad played it right because...
Of course he did, yes.
The Blast Mage whiffed, but it's not the end of the world. He basically hopes for Doomhammer next turn.
Reynad's weapon could actually be the game changer here, depending on what either players get.
If he gets Sword of Justice, then that really stinks.
He's gonna get a 4/5 out of it. Ooh, Loatheb. That's an interesting minion to play instead of Blingtron. I prefer that because you get a body before you drop the weapon. It's much stronger. If he'd gotten a really weak minion like Tinkertown Technician, this would have been a really awkward turn, but something like this will allow him to press the advantage that Blingtron can give.
Yeah, and I meant Light's Justice out of Blingtron would be the worst, but...
Okay, yeah, instead of Sword of Justice. Sorry, I must have misunderstood. Yeah. So we have a situation right now where Reynad is going to be able to get card draw off of the Loot Hoarder. So this might compensate for, you know, generally speaking, Mech Mage's weak spot is card draw. You have to be very efficient with your minions, and mechs tend to do that very well, especially when you can complement them with bursts and spare parts. So let's see what weapons both players get. Light's Justice.
Oh,
and Doomhammer, you've got to be kidding me.
Did I jinx Reynad?
Oh my god.
Okay. I mean, this is not over. This is still 4 damage, so...
This is not over.
It's the worst.
You're right.
But
it's not over. It's far from over, actually. Like, look at the amount of damage Reynad has on board. Like, disregard the fact that Light's Justice is a complete whiff. That's 7 damage coming up right now to Firebat's face. That puts him on 12. And Doomhammer you can't use for removal, so you have to use it offensively, which you really can't afford.
Right, yeah. Reynad got the worst weapon possible, but
he's still winning.
It is still 4 damage, and Firebat, like you said, cannot afford to use his Doomhammer as removal, so sure it's going to be damage in Reynad's face and actually makes the combo pretty good on turn 9 because then Firebat could win the game, but Firebat has to get to turn 9, that's the problem.
And this Innervate, actually, you can hero power and get up to 3 attack with Doomhammer for all that's worth. That or you Force of Nature to clear the board even more effectively. I don't know, I feel like all the plays that can be made here by Firebat are going to be so vulnerable to that Fireball.
Yeah. But does he have a choice, though?
No, he's dead. He's dead to Fireball, but he had to play around it. He had to play as though it wasn't there.
He can't let the loot hit more than once, but he doesn't want to kill it because then Reynad gets closer to Antinidas or another Fireball or, well...
That's a good game. Reynad just BM attacking the Druid of the Claw and using the Fireball on Firebat's face. So Fireball gets Fireball, Firebat gets Fireballed. That'll make Reynad take the lead with a Mech Mage. As we said, slightly favored. Well, slightly favored in Mage's, side here. That Blast Mage, although it whiffed, still got him a head start. That Mech Mage has on its own. So if Firebat manages to get a good early lead and gets those Blood Knights to hit, then that could just, work in his favor.
Yeah. And
all right, so let's look at the mulligan here.
Everything here. It looks like he feels like having a turn 4 Defender of Argus is really worth keeping, because he expects that he's going to get a turn 3 in time.
Yep. So looking at the hand from both players here, this Flame Imp is a perfect answer to Mech Warper, obviously, but Frostbolt's gonna have to be played. Unfortunately for Reynad, the follow-up Knife Juggler is also going to contest the Mech Warper. So Firebat has 2 answers, back-to-back 3/2s that can deal with the Mech Warper, preventing Reynad from abusing the synergy. But waiting 1 turn could just be what Reynad's gonna do here.
Yeah, this is right, but at the same time, now Firebat's gonna have to trade this Juggler into the Mech Warper, and is gonna have to deal with the Harvest Golem next turn, and Reynad is pretty much guaranteed to get Blast Mage value on turn 4, and this could turn the tide of the game very quickly.
Yeah, if you look at the Scarlet Crusader, it's particularly vulnerable to both the token, the ping, and the Blast Mage, so it's a combination of everything that can potentially go wrong in this specific circumstance. Like, he's got to try to play around the Blast Mage killing everything guaranteed.
Okay, so the Blast Mage's hits are going to be huge if Reynad opts to go for this. He could also play the Water Ely, but I really like this aggressive play. Hopefully for Reynad, it kills something.
Well, it kills everything, actually.
This is excellent.
Yeah, the only better outcome would have been to hit face once instead of the second hit on Argus.
But I mean, this is... You can't really hope for better if you're in Reynad's shoes here.
Alright, so Zoo is a deck that I haven't seen much around. This version of Firebats deals well with the Nogatrons because of Blood Knights. It can also get value on its own just by turning your own Divine Chills into extra damage output. But I feel like the card disadvantage that Zoo generates when they get early Doom Guards is just atrocious.
Yeah, especially since Firebat doesn't really want to tap here because he'd lose even more HP and get into Reynad's burn range.
And we see a Black Knight in Reynad's, we see a Black Knight in Reynad's hand, which is one of the... I mean, right now with the Defend of Argus that Firebat will try to get off, this is actually going to become a liability for him. He doesn't know it yet, because I don't believe we've seen that card before.
We've never seen it, and this is so good for Reynad to have, well, managed to hide this Black Knight until the finals. There was no way Firebat could have known that this Black Knight's there.
It's a pretty decent tech card. I've seen it on ladder with Mech Mages, but not consistently enough to assume that it's always going to be there. This Water Elemental's health total is going to be a pain for Firebat.
And then Reynad has Dr. Boom next turn, or the Black Knight if he gets a good...
Oh, this is not what Firebat wants to see. Double Doom Guard in hand. I mean, you have a spare part that is probably sacrificial.
Yeah, so do you tap and Doom Guard so that way you hope that you don't discard your second Doom Guard? Really hope for the spare part to go away?
I don't think you do. No, I don't think you do, because then you're gonna just discard more stuff with your second Doom Guard if it stays. So you're essentially not really achieving much. I don't know. Maybe it's worth discarding another card than Doom Guard, but I really don't see it as being viable. You want to empty your hand before you play them.
Alright,
you're pretty committed to losing them right now.
Yeah. Yeah, might as well play one, lose the second one in the spare part if you can.
Yep, and so we see the Harvest Golem goes down, so Reynad, saving himself the trouble. I mean, Firebat putting himself out of a Blast Mage potential second play. But Reynad's hand has multiple options. One minion destroys the Voidwalker right away. Dr. Boom, on the other hand, applies even more pressure, which I think is the more offensive play. You're putting your opponent on a one-turn clock, essentially.
Yeah, 7 mana, play Dr. Boom. and this is so hard to deal with for Firebat. This implosion doesn't really help. I mean,
well,
I
Definitive
don't know
Argus
if
makes it a bit better. Quite a bit better, in fact.
if you if you Argus the imps,
Yeah, you can just trade your 5/5 into the 3/5, and then he's going to be forced to attack into your taunts. He's got no AoE that we know of, and obviously, you know, Firebat's not playing around Black Knight. He doesn't have that information. Of course, we have it, so we have the edge in this specific case.
Yeah.
But Reynad's going to get a really nice Black Knight. Not the best, but definitely impactful enough to seal.
okay, so how the bombs here are pretty likely to kill the 1/1s, obviously. Oh, well,
Wow, that's the
4 to the
best
face, too bad.
outcome.
And then 7 to the face. There is no way Firebat comes back from this.
It's possible that he does, but I really like he's got no healing in Zoo, right? Like it's completely impossible for him to heal up. So with Doom Guards around, a Divine Shield protecting Dr. Boom behind this, you have to expend all your minions just removing the Annoyotron, which leaves you, you know, as a guaranteed. You're going to be taking damage next turn no matter what you do.
This is a board clear for Firebat, but I mean, as soon as Reynad gets, well, this is game. You Frostbolt the face, you heal power, and then there's no way you don't have lethal next turn.
It's a 1-turn clock, and Firebat cannot possibly in any world deal a total of 27 damage in 1 turn.
Yeah,
Unless
exactly.
he runs
There's
healing, and we saw his entire deck earlier against Mill Mage, which is favored against Zoo.
There's 11 damage on board. Firebat is... I think Reynad should have Frostbolted the face just to prevent the card draw, but I don't think it's even possible to Firebat to have Firebat to have lethal, but should have
Even
denied
if he
the card
drew
draw.
2 cards, it's impossible. There is not a single combination of cards in this specific case with 2 card draws that is going to lead to that. Even if you get like Leroy Jenkins Power Overwhelming, you're not even close.
Yeah, you need 13 damage, which is impossible.
Yep, and
And
Firebat
Firebat
will
concede.
concede.
So
Wow.
Firebat is down 2-0 against Reynad. He has 1 deck left, and if he wants to take the first place mage to play around everything that the rogue can do,
Yeah.
so we're gonna have to see if he can gamble where he should.
Yeah, and right now the rogue's hand is pretty good to deal with an early aggressive board, so I feel like Firebat's got to feel pretty confident about his ability to deflect the early aggression.
Backstabs here already, doesn't want this basically 3/2 for 1 mana because he assumes that Reynad has turn 2 mech, because they always do.
Yeah, and I feel like this dagger play, Prep Eviscerate lets you put a dagger up in case you get deadly poison. So I feel like Firebat's ability to answer those early mechs is really, really strong. And if you look at Reynad's hand, it's not a complete whiff, but let's just say it's not as strong as it was last game. There are no 2-drop mechs that are going to be able to follow this very nicely. There are multiple outs in his deck that are going to help, but nothing like what he had last game.
Yeah, the mirror entity is definitely never something you want to draw. As mech mage, you'd rather see the mad scientist, obviously. But now this turn from Firebat is very strong. He has to expend 3 cards and the coin, but has a 3/3 on the board, and Reynad has nothing. So already on turn 3, mech mage is behind on the board. This is very bad for Reynad.
Yeah, I mean, it's far from decided yet. I mean, there are answers from both sides. This dagger is going to get the Clockwork Gnome for free, dealing a small amount of damage to Firebat, and to be honest, Mech Mage hasn't put enough pressure that Firebat is too worried, and Blingtron is, in Reynad's hand, almost a dead card, because you don't want to give that to a rogue. If she gets a good weapon and gets deadly poisons up, this could lead to just, you know, a complete snowball.
I mean, I wouldn't say Blingtron's a dead card, but I'd say it's probably going to be a huge gamble, and it's going to decide who takes the edge on turn 5 here. Obviously, Reynad gets a 3/4, and Firebat doesn't, but then he uses his whole turn for this. So if Blingtron whiffs, gives Reynad a bad weapon, gives Firebat a good one, that's going to be pretty much game, but if Reynad gets
he's
a
going to
good
have
weapon...
to try it out, but it's such a gamble play, because if...
Arcanite Reaper...
And Perdition's
then...
Blade, I believe. Something along the lines of Perdition's Blade is
It's
3
a
damage
3-2.
to attack.
So it's
Oh, it's sorry, it's Fire War Axe or Eagle Hornbow, that's right. Alright, so Deadly Poison, Tinker's Sharpsword, Oil. If you are praying for Blade Flurries, I mean, this current board state is incredibly strong with Fire... Like, Firebat, Deadly Poison, Tinkers gives him a weapon that has a total of 7 attack. It's not enough to justify doing without Blade Flurry. But if you did have it, then that would just be an incredible moment.
So he's prepping Fan, is gonna kill one of the minions, be able to kill the second one. I mean, Reynad's weapon gave him 10 damage. I mean, this Blingtron was 5 mana, get a 3/4, and Pyroblast.
Yep.
That is value.
Yeah, this is the reason Blingtron is actually playable in Mech Mage, and pretty much nowhere else. It fits the deck like no other, because it also contributes to your general game plan, which is either put damage to the face, and you're also getting a mech on the board that has 4 health. Doesn't seem like, you know, the most amount of health, but with the weapon that you can use as removal, you're securing your board, you have the ability to just go face if you need to press the damage, and overall, it's quite a strong card.
Yeah, now Firebat's going to be able to stabilize faster because he has this Fiery War Axe, but it's also going to stabilize at a lower HP.
No, but he's doing perfectly fine here. If you look at the board, Reynad's Frostbolt is going to be able to answer this 3/3, but the War Axe is helping Firebat as much as the Reaper might have helped Reynad in this case.
Yeah. So this is still anybody's game.
This Snow Chugger is pretty much on perfect curve here. He's going to allow to get Reynad the ability to freeze the Rogue, at which point the Deadly Poisons are pretty problematic. I mean, Firebat might even have to attack into the Snow Chugger and freeze himself. Oh, never mind.
So you Deadly Poison, Tinkers, hit face, and then...
No, you kill the Golem and you Blade Flurry, you Tinkers later.
Oh,
if you get frozen, you lose the game. It takes very little here. That Snow Chugger is one of the biggest threats to Firebat's long-term plan here in this game. And if Water Elemental comes out, well, Firebat, you tried. Well, he can still win this game. A good sap here to set up a nice follow-up. But this 6 health is a lot. Eviscerate would be amazing to get anything done here against this Water Elemental. Not exactly the most annoying minion in general, but when played against a rogue who needs her weapons, as most rogues who play the game now actually do, they're all very, weapon-centric. This leaves them with very little, playability at this point. He can just freeze with the coolant and go face.
This scientist doesn't really matter because we've seen both mirror entities. So it's just a 2/2 body, which is better than nothing when you're trying to push for damage, but I guess Reynad at this point is just waiting for Antonidas get value with the spare part and take the game.
Alright, so this Mad Scientist is a dead card, and this double Tinkers is going to allow Firebat to... maybe a single Tinkers is at least going to allow Firebat to trade that 3/3 away. Whether he plays the second one or not is probably going to wait until he finds another minion, because his weapon will become 7 attack. So he does have 14 damage from, this specific circumstance, and all he has to do is wait for another minion to get it out. Oh, wow.
Of course.
Reynad getting Snow Chugger into Water Ellie, and as soon as Firebat's about to be able to deal with it, another freeze comes out.
There's the Shiv, okay. Maybe he can draw... I don't know what you want. I guess you'd want a Violet Teacher just so you can...
Oh, wow.
Have a minion, but...
6, 9. He can have a 9 damage weapon, but he can only use it once. That's the big issue.
Which would be a 9, another 9 with Blade Flurry. Then you have to draw your second Blade Flurry and an extra 3 damage before Reynad gets lethal. Looks like he's going for it.
I think you have to hope for that Blade Flurry that will remove the Snow Trigger, or you could just go face for 7 and let the Deadly Poison act as a combo starter for perhaps another, like an Eviscerate play or something, if anything comes up.
But then you don't have lethal with this. You need...
Oh, okay. Wow. There comes the Eviscerate.
Well, he still needs, even if he gets Blade Flurry next turn, he still needs 1 damage. So he might be forced to eviscerate the Chugger if he ever wants to attack. This is so hard.
Yeah, he has to eviscerate the Chugger. He's gonna be taking 2 less damage. I mean, unless a mech is found for Reynad off the top again with an amazing top deck.
Oh, this is game. Ugh.
He has to freeze. Well, can emergency cool and freeze a friendly minion? I've never seen it, so I wouldn't know. Oh yeah, it can. Okay, never mind.
Wow.
Alright.
So Reynad is gonna 3-0.
Well, no, he just needs a Blade Flurry and he might still live. And there it is.
Oh,
Blade
wow.
Flurry first,
Okay,
you
never
kill the
mind.
Untitled, you dagger up, you prepare Deadly Poison, and there's still a chance of Firebat's, staying in this game.
Firebat needs 1 damage next turn if Reynad doesn't top deck any burn.
A lethal, exactly. Reynad needs to top deck 1 damage as well. And he doesn't.
But then that prevents Firebat's lethal.
Yep, that is, there's no more Blade Flurries left.
And then ping, is there a way Firebat can have lethal?
No.
If he has healing?
Sprint.
Heal bot?
Uh-oh. Let's see what comes out of this. Oh, the sprint. This is what Firebat wanted to see right now, I think. So this is going to be game. Reynad's going to get it. Really close game. Blinktron playing a good, it did amazing for both players, but ultimately, top deck after top deck, freeze after freeze.